Yo guys, what is up? And today I am back with my breakdown and thoughts on Misfits card number 4. And let's basically get into it. It's not gonna be a super long video. I just want to give my initial thoughts on my opinions on this fight card. We started off the night with Idris versus Anthony Taylor. As I think most people predicted, Idris won by UD unanimous decision. Anthony Taylor put on a good fight. The guy's got a chin. The guy has heart. The guy has grit. But he was simply outboxed by a superior boxer. L. Brook versus Faze, and that ended in the first round. Technique, there was no technique. But you know what? This was probably the best female influencer boxing fight. And Al can crack. And I knew she was going to win because she had more boxing experience and she was training with Mark Tibbs, who was a legendary boxing coach. And she definitely had like a really good jab, and I think that I feel like with a lot of these female fighters, they kind of just like brawl and they can like take their time. And I think if they both took their time more and just, you know, put out the jab and feinted a little bit and just kind of didn't let the nerves get to them, the fights could be a lot more cleaner. But yeah, I mean, not much to say on that fight other than it was pretty entertaining, and that's what you want. You know, it wasn't hard to watch like Astrid Wett's fight. And I don't know who's gonna win that fight between Astrid and L. Brook, but because we don't really know how good Astrid is, definitely an upcoming genre, which is female influencer fighting. And then we had the GOAT, the Madman versus the Badman, and the Madman took home the W. Swarms, the GOAT, won by first round doctor stoppage. And what happened was he basically just jabbed Ryan Taylor's eye, and Ryan Taylor quit in the corner. He quit on the stool. And I was very surprised that this fight happened that way. Very happy for Swarms, but I had an inkling, a feeling, a gut instinct that Swarms could pull an upset. And that's mainly because Ryan said that he wasn't training and he wasn't really taking this seriously. He was in Dubai. And then you had Swarms, who didn't have maybe the talent, the grit, the chin that Ryan Taylor had, but he was working hard. And as the classic saying goes, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard enough. And to be quite honest, Swarms kind of seemed like a better boxer than Ryan. Like, he had a good jab, and like, he's an interesting prospect. I mean, he's not a good YouTube boxer, and he has a long way to go, and I don't think he'd be able to compete with the top dogs, but I would love to see him fight Tom Zanetti, a Ryan Taylor rematch maybe. There's you know, your really bum fights like Hal Hanam, Ginty, if he wants to be so bold, go for JMX. And then we had Lucille Pineda versus B. Dave, and he won. And again, this was the redemption of the KSI's opponents. Swarms and Pineda redeemed themselves. They went from embarrassing wins to incredible W's. Pineda got a knockdown, and obviously, I mean, it got a little rough at the end with Pineda gassing out and, you know, having stuff coming out of his mouth. However, I'm glad that he redeemed himself and that, and he got so popular because of the memes. But the arena was going crazy, and I was going crazy because it was a genius idea. I obviously said Mams Taylor was an idiot in the last video, and this match you could say was a little unfair to B. Dave. However, this was pretty genius, and the fans loved it. Pineda is definitely a journeyman. He could not compete with any of the Deadleys, the Gibbs. Like, he definitely should fight like the lowest of the lows. But he could make a nice career out of it, make money, and make a name for himself. And he looked pretty decent. But again, the reason why Swarms, people are gonna say, well, this makes Swarms, KSI's win against Swarms and Pineda look better. But I'm gonna tell you it doesn't, because Swarms was fat and had a box before. So the Swarms that KSI fought is not the Swarms that's here now. Same thing with Pineda, and Swarms said that KSI fight made him, and that Pineda fight with KSI probably made Pineda. Also, B. Dave didn't hurt Pineda. Like, you could tell from Pineda's facial expressions when KSI hit him versus B. Dave's that he was not intimidated by the power, so he was just gonna go off on him. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely not a pro boxer. That's kind of by name only, but still, huge surprise. Super excited about that, and I thought it was a genius idea. And despite some people saying this was a hard fight to watch, maybe because it was one guy that was more experienced over another guy that wasn't, I found it vastly entertaining. That's the point of these cards: entertaining fights. We're not expecting technique. We're not expecting the most fair matchups, although in some cases that can be, like Hasim Ahmed Jr. versus Greg Hardy should never have happened, but You know, we want entertainment. We want to be engaged, and that's exactly what this card delivered, and that lives up to the basic premise and core concept of YouTube boxing. And then we had Sal Poppy, who beat Josh Buchanan. And, I mean, Sal Poppy, man, he's a huge contender now. Like, I was so shocked that he knocked down him in the second round. I knew he was going to beat Josh. I knew Josh was going to be really stationary. But, honestly, I want to see Sal Poppy fight Jake or KSI. I think he would lose just because of the experience gap. But, like, he couldn't pull an upset. Like, I don't know. This guy, like, I think Sal Poppy is the KSI of this next generation. Like, once KSI and Jake Paul leave, I think Poppy will be that guy. Like, I think he will take the mantle and be the king. Like, I think it's destined to be. Like, I think he might stay undefeated. Like, I was blown away. And I don't need to say much more because, I mean, everyone said everything about Sal Poppy. But amazing performance, amazing fight, and just, wow, that guy is lethal power. And Josh isn't a bum. Josh is a good fighter who would beat so many YouTube boxers. It just Poppy's on another level. Potentially could be even a higher level than KSI and Jake. So I think we gotta see Sal Poppy fight Jake or KSI. Maybe after they fight, and you know, it's a nice little exhibition, or it's something to get one of them out of retirement, because Poppy deserves a main event. Like, he deserves a main fight. He deserves a big bag. Like, this guy is a cat. Like, this guy is the next superstar. And he alone would keep YouTube boxing alive. Obviously, there were lots of other people, but he himself is the next KSI. He's got the personality. He's got the ring, the boxing knowledge, and he can just put people away. Like, it's insane. Definitely changed the game. Slim versus Zanetti was a tough fight to watch. As I predicted, everyone is now saying, wow, Slim is overrated. I'm like, yeah, you stupid idiots. I told you this. Like, and no one believed me. Slim had poor cardio. I think he was scrapping, and when he could have been boxing, and he could have won this fight a lot cleaner. Although props to Tom Zanetti for having such an amazing chin. It was definitely fight of the night, great fight, and Slim delivered, and he remains undefeated. But I think it's pretty clear that anyone who says that he should fight KSI next is basically wanting Slim to get KO'd cold. Because, yeah, he's a long way to go. Definitely not ready for Gib. I do think King Kenny would be an intriguing fight, or Alex Wasabi, but I know he's going to go down in weight, so I don't know who Slim would fight in the 160s category. Maybe he'll fight maybe a bum or a mid-level opponent again, but he still, I think, has a long way to go before he can be considered in the top dogs. And even when he fought Tempo, I'm like, this guy's got windmill technique. Like, he's technically very reckless, and I think everyone finally found that out. Like, Slim got kind of found out in this fight. Still good, still a competitor, and has a lot of potential, but it's just, he's not at the level people thought he was, and that's something that I knew. But, anyways. And then we had KSI being Faze Tempo, and I mean, there's not much to say about that. I knew that KSI was going to knock him out in the first 2 rounds. I thought it was going to be a second round knockout. Wade and some people were saying this is going to be a tougher fight, and I was like, it's not going to go into that 5th round. Are you guys serious? Faze Tempo, you know, was decent. You know, he took shots well, and he had some abilities. Probably definitely a better fighter than Dylan Dennis from a boxing perspective, but he got knocked out. And KSI actually did the shoulder thing. The same thing he did to Pineda, and they actually have Pineda and Tempo have the exact same stance and got hurt the exact same way, which is pretty impressive for KSI. And he actually set it up, and, you know, when he actually ran into Faze Tempo, which I didn't like, that's actually the shot that he knocked him out with, except on the second time, he actually, like, he just, like, went like this and then just ran at him. And the second time, he went 1, 2, glove, glove, and he actually put Tempo in a position where his hands were not near his head as much, and he was backed up, and KSI was able to land that shot down the pipe and then knock him down. And it was an incredible knockdown, but at the end of the day, didn't learn much about KSI, and we all knew this was going to happen, or at least I did. I didn't think this was a very competitive fight, but timing is everything, because this would have been so much more like, whoa, like people would have been so much more enamored if this was back in August, and him being Slim now would have been great, but yeah, and there were some things that KSI did that I wasn't really happy about, like mainly that his hand is towards his waist when he fights, and at times it seemed like he was a little too stationary and got caught with shots. And it wasn't that he was necessarily like wild, but his punches were a bit wider than I would have liked. However, at other points, his defense and the way he would throw his punches was like perfect. So it definitely is concerning. He definitely has stuff to work on. And it wasn't a flawless performance. There definitely were some pretty significant flaws, as I mentioned. Mainly just the defense. But then I wonder, is that because it's tempo and he didn't feel the power, and he said that about Swims and Pineda, and he also was defensively more responsible against Logan, but that's because Logan was an actual threat. So I don't know if this was more of just like, you're an easy opponent, or it's because that's kind of a flaw. I think it's a bit of both, but I think he won't be that kind of reckless against a Fournier or Tyron Woodley. But you know, I like that when he would jab and then he would go to the body, and he definitely underutilizes his jab a lot, and I wish he would use him more. I'm telling you right now, if JJ does not fight Fournier or Woodley, it's bad news, because if it's Fournier, listen, if Jake fights Tommy and beats Tommy, or he fights and loses to Tommy, KSI should fight Joe, right? But if Jake doesn't fight Tommy, then KSI can fight Woodley. You know, it doesn't really matter. But he needs to fight one of these guys. I think he can beat both guys. I don't know how he's going to beat Fournier, because Fournier should easily beat him, and Fury should easily beat Paul. But somehow I think they're going to win because they're meant to fight. And obviously Fournier and JJ had a face-off. I want to see that fight next, personally. But I wouldn't be, you know, upset if it was Woodley, because people do want that fight. But I'm gonna predict it's gonna be Fournier, but again, maybe business-wise and safer-wise, they might go for Woodley. And again, this really all depends on if Jake fights Fury or not, because fighting a pro boxer like Jake, I mean, at that point it wouldn't even be worth having the fight, because Jake would just have had this really critical knowledge that KSI would just be in complete lack of. So yeah, his next decision on who he fights next is vital to his success against Jake Paul, and that's when we will really see where they're at in terms of how much of a skill gap there is. So yeah, that's the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.